Hello, I'm Dan Joseph. Recently, the Media Research Center has been extremely critical in its analysis of the New York Times running page one smear pieces focusing on Marco Rubio's traffic tickets and his purchases of a house and a boat. However, MRC simply cannot ignore the New York Times' most recent revelation about Senator Rubio's past. It is undoubtedly far too great of a breach of trust not to be brought to the attention of the American public. Earlier this week, the New York Times wrote a front-page story revealing that at a party 10 years ago, Marco Rubio committed the unforgivable act of double-dipping his tortilla chip. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this odious practice, double-dipping is when an individual dips his or her chip in salsa, queso, or some other variety of dip, takes a bite, and then proceeds to dip the already half-eaten chip back into the dip. MRC-TV was able to get an interview with the source for the New York Times story. She preferred to remain anonymous. Tell us what happened that day.
Well, Mr. Rubio was hosting a party. He was talking to someone, explaining what an amazing challenge it had been to be the youngest person to ever serve as the Florida Speaker of the House. He grabbed a chip from the bowl next to him and dipped it in salsa. Was it a Tostitos brand tortilla chip? Of course. He took a bite of the chip, saw I was looking at him, and then waved at me. And then he dipped the chip back into the dip again, and took another bite. Then he started laughing like some sort of crazy person.
It's okay. It's okay. Here. Tissue.
Thank you.
Disgusting. Joining us now live is Eric Shiner, who is on location at the convenience store where Rubio purchased the chips and salsa for that day's party. Hi, Eric. So, what are the operators of that store telling you about what happened that day?
Dan, I'm here live outside the convenience store that reportedly sold Senator Rubio the tortilla chips that are referenced in the now famous New York Times double-dipping story. In fact, we talked to the store manager here. He says Rubio sometimes came in as frequently as twice a month. And not only did he buy tortillas, sometimes he bought some other chips.
I do really like chips.
Eric, compared to other issues in this election, is this really something that is going to stick in the public's mind?
Dan, maybe not on its own, but when you take into account the 4 traffic tickets that Rubio has received as reported by the New York Times, you have to consider the fact that one of those traffic tickets may have been received on his way to come to the store and get tortilla chips, and that is going to weigh on a lot of primary voters' minds.
Did they tell you anything else, Eric?
Indeed they did, Dan. The store manager here actually tells us that Senator Rubio often would pay in cash when he was leaving for those chips, sometimes taking a penny from the jar next to the register, but on very few occasions did he leave a penny.
Ugh. This story just keeps getting more and more disturbing. Great reporting, Eric. Well, obviously, the New York Times deserves a huge debt of gratitude from the American people for bringing these details of Senator Rubio's atrocious behavior to our attention. It will obviously be the focus of widespread media attention for weeks, easily overshadowing President Obama's recent announcement that he will begin making the transition from being a black man to a small Asian woman. For MRC-TV, I'm Dan Joseph.
Damn, that dude really liked chips. That guy really liked chips.